Hi, Naveen. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. This is the second time you're on Divinity Connecting the Dots. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time. All right, so we're talking about a very important course that's going on right now at Harvard. It's called The Great Food Transformation. But before we talk about your role in the course, let's hear from you a little bit about yourself. So you're 100% vegan, is that right?
Yeah, I am. And I think that this has been a pretty big part of my life for the past few years or so. I went vegan 3 years ago now, and it was because I was having a lot of issues with my gut health. I struggled with an autoimmune disorder, and I was trying to figure out ways to reduce inflammation and autoimmunity in my body. And going vegan just seemed like the natural way to do that. So over COVID, especially, it was pretty easy to facilitate that transition because I was able to just make food for myself and taste different things and see what worked for me. And it made a really, really significant impact on my health. So that kind of had pushed me to the edge and really made me decide that I really wanted to pursue this as a commitment for the rest of my life. And actually, then once I entered college, I'm a sophomore now at Harvard. Once I entered college, I took a course called Animals in Politics, which is taught by the same professor, Dr. Saha. And in that course, we learned about the ethics behind animal rights and animal welfare, and that really just solidified in my mind the importance of these issues. So I've just been a staunch advocate of veganism and plant-based being more mainstream in politics and in business and all of the above. And I'm really excited to talk about that today.
Yeah, that is awesome. So, you went vegan, you experienced, a health situation. We all hope that you're doing much, much better after, switching the fuel that you're choosing for your body, and that it has actually gone ahead and sort of redefined your entire value system and how you want to commit your time, and efforts to the cause of veganism and essentially for the planet and for the animals. Um, so tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I'm originally from Maryland, and I've grew up in a pretty rural area where there are lots of farms, and I was actually surrounded by a lot of animals. There were actually two horse farms right near my house that I
Wow.
visited quite frequently, and just through that experience, I feel like I developed a pretty big love for animals, and that is also a big part of my culture. My family is originally from India, and we've been vegetarian for our whole lives, and it's just been a system that I was brought up in, and I'd always kind of had at the back of my mind, but never really questioned and thought about the intentionality behind it. So I think that being able to come here and see so many different diverse backgrounds and places that people are coming from, and seeing how our experiences differ has really opened my eyes up, and just shown me how different we all are, and how ultimately our backgrounds have contributed to the way that we are and the way that the world is right now.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and we share, the same ancestry in a way, and it's pretty interesting when I speak with a lot of my guests who have South Asian origin, family of origin, South Asian, and so on, or even South Asians living in South Asia at this point in time, how everyone speaks about that they've been raised with this consciousness, which is about compassion and ahimsa and so on. However, once they learn about the ethical philosophy of veganism, it sort of opens their eyes even more as to how to really bring a lot of those values in a super practical way in how we eat and what we wear and how we interact with the world around us. And
Absolutely.
and it takes that nudge, right? And no matter whether it's a health situation or it's a different cause that brings us into the movement. So tell me what you do now. You mentioned you're a sophomore at Harvard University. What are you studying? What are your different interests, and how are you bringing your voice to the campus?
Sure. So I am currently studying neuroscience and environmental science and public policy. And I am very interested in the intersection of the environment and health. So, and I feel like food, in particular plant-based diets, are sitting at the junction of these two issues. And on campus, I've been involved in a lot of environmental work. I work with the Council of Student Sustainability Leaders on reducing food emissions on our campus. And I serve on the Presidential Committee for Sustainability, which advises the president of Harvard on different sustainability related issues. And I'm focused on scope 3 emissions and with the food focus as well. And in addition to that, I'm very focused on wellness and mindfulness. So I do a lot of wellness training at the school and helping students deal with different issues pertaining to what different facets of wellness. And on top of that, I do research outside of Harvard on the effects of food on our brain and the addictive qualities of food that result in chronic diseases like obesity.
Oh my goodness, that is a lot of work. How do you find time to do that, Naveen?
I think it's just my passion. So it's just really easy to bring myself to do these sorts of things. I just want to see the different ways that I can contribute and ultimately make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, and that is amazing. And passion and compassion go hand in hand, and you're living both of those values. So what is it that you do for self-care? Because a lot of young people out there who are very passionate, just like yourselves, find their days and nights extremely busy with everything that they're doing. What is your message for them?
I would say that it's important to sometimes take a step back and sort of realize, that we're all here and we're all here to be ourselves and contribute our messages and our ideas to the world. And I think that oftentimes we can get kind of caught up in the busyness of the day and the different tasks that are tomorrow or something that had a mistake perhaps that had happened in the past. But I think it's as cliche as it sounds, just really like looking in the moment and seeing and enjoying what is there. And for me, that also means taking care of my health at all times because I think that that contributes a lot to how I am in the world, both with respect to how I treat other people as well as how I treat myself. And then I also think just taking time to give yourself mental um, control, whether that means through, I guess, meditation or breathing, or even just taking breaks and chatting with people and just giving yourself the time to enjoy things.
Yeah, wise words indeed. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, because self-regulation, especially nervous regulation, of our own bodies, our autonomic nervous system is really important for us to build resilience and to have the energy to, have our voice and to share it with the world.
Yeah.
So why the great food transformation? What attracted you to your current role, and what is the role? So help us understand, describe your role as the teaching assistant in this course.
Sure. So, to answer the first part, uh, for one of the biggest reasons was because once I'd realized that Dr. Saha was teaching the class, who, as I'd mentioned before, was previously my professor in my freshman year, I knew that it was automatically going to be a great course since Dr. Saha is an excellent professor. And from my own personal beliefs, I know the importance of these issues. But from taking classes at the school, I've also seen firsthand how these issues aren't talked about, especially in classes pertaining to the environment or health, where this should be so intersectional with these issues. So I think that was kind of shocking to me. And this class is really a one of a kind in the sense that it's bringing forth the intersection of these issues through the lens of food and the great food transformation. So that was really captivating to me. And I think that from my own experience, I've seen that there's not a lot of policy making that goes on in this space that is productive. And I think that that's because a lot of policymakers often shy away from these issues, or maybe just that there's not this realization of how important it is, or maybe the idea that voters might not be receptive to it. So I think that that is all really interesting because policy is the place where change happens, I
Mhm.
believe. So I think that understanding the way that the system works and how we can leverage different resources and how we can influence different factors to ultimately create that climate that allows for better policy making in this space. I think that that's really important, and I'm really honored to just be part of that. Um, and my role in the class is to essentially just facilitate the course by, helping students with readings and lecture material, and making it accessible to everyone. Also assisting the professor with different logistical and administrative tasks, and helping with some of the slides. And actually, I'll be presenting maybe 1 or 2 times as well this semester on some of my experiences. So that's going to be really exciting as well. And overall, just the teaching team has been really amazing to work with, and it's been a really incredible experience.
Yeah, that is awesome. I can't wait to hear you speak and share your experiences with the students in class. Um, and overall, why do you think that such courses or this multidisciplinary course content that Dr. Saha has put together, why is it relevant at this point in time, and why would you say it's even important? Why is something like this um, almost essential in the academic environment at this point in time?
Well, I think that a lot of people are starting to realize now more than ever that climate and health and all these different issues are connected with one another,
Mhm.
especially climate change as it pertains to air pollution or natural disasters that affect people's living standards, and all these things, and how they're interconnected to health, and how um, you know really there's so much that we haven't even tapped into as solutions to these issues. And I think that plant-based food systems are really, like I mentioned before, at the heart of our solution. And it's not something that's talked about largely for the reasons I talked mentioned before. And I think that in an academic setting where students are brought up to learn about the world around us and what really is going on and where we can put our feet down essentially and choose to work. I think that it's important to give people the awareness of these issues, and that there's so much potential for making change in this space. So I really think that this sort of a setting in a classroom where students are eager to learn and eager to make a difference is where this sort of material really does make an impact, and it will make an impact. I'm very confident that it will by the end of the class.
Absolutely, that makes the two of us, and the content, the way it's been put together, and how you're supporting the teaching team in disseminating, ensuring that the students have everything that they need, will truly help them, understand and be illuminated, really about what's at stake at this point in time, and how planetary boundaries have been breached, and also understand that a lot of the chronic illness, both communicable and non-communicable, somehow traces itself back to the really abnormal and tragic relationship that our species has developed with the natural world around us. We're speaking with you, Navin Durbhakula. I could send you my best wishes in your role as the spring semester unfolds and the course progresses. And I will see you tomorrow on campus. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to talk to you.